Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe as it helps the channel out. Thank you. Oh gee, I wonder who this old man is and what's he doing. Anyways, hey guys, my name is Cecil Dormy and today we are playing Hearts of Iron 4 using the mod called The Fire Rises. It is basically a mod taking place in a world where 2020 was 1,000 times worse. Anyways, we're going to start a new game as the Americans. We're currently led by one Donald J. Trump. We have political division, world police, and political establishment. So, the world as it is in 2020, everything seems normal. This is before everything goes completely insane. Of course, the Congo is burning itself alive. Ukraine isn't being invaded to high hell and back. And America is doing just fine. For the most part. I think. Anyways, we are going to play on recruit difficulty. Because I suck at this game, and we shall start. Let's go! The United States of America is described by many as a land of opportunities, wealth, and freedom. A nation that believes no challenge is too great, no mountain too tall, and no risk too discouraging. And after the end of the Cold War, America believed that it would find itself as the single most powerful nation on Earth. However, it would face many challenges, most of which it was unprepared for. Whether it be a resurgence of old and new enemies or unrest within its borders, America wasn't going to experience the peaceful century it had hoped for. Instead, it was facing a new world that had begun to increasingly turn against her as time went on. Combined with an increasingly polarized population and murmurs of a new virus in Wuhan, China, America must truly stand united. For as Gerald Stanley Lee once said, America is a tune. It must be sung together. Alright. We are in the game. And we currently have the following. Political division, which means we are we're very, very divided. The Trump economy, which means that the economy is doing good. Unlike today's Trump. America first. Which means we're going back into isolationism. Political establishment. Which is self-explanatory. Constitutional protections. Which means we can't outlaw any parties. Low illegal immigration. Even though it's one of the most controversial issues of the day, it is a lot lower than it was back in the day. Also, on the fringe right, a bunch of people who don't like ethnic minorities are cooking up a great replacement theory, which is crackpot, by the way. World Police! Self-explanatory. Second Amendment. Self-explanatory. Now, we are currently researching State of the Union. Cannot cancel it. So, let's sort out some of our problems. We have a research slot available. Thermal optics. We'll go with... fast rope drills. We'll go and fire up artillery research. Get some engineering done. Right. Free military factories. Our shit is outdated. Suffice to say. So... we are going to improve our stuff. Right, that should be good. 3 civilian factories. We should build stuff in the Midwest. Gotta revive Rust Belt after all. Bring those jobs back, even if they ain't factory jobs. Right, that should be good enough. Actually, you know what? I think I'll backtrack a bit. Instead of just building entire states, I'll build it like one state at a time. That should loosen up the strain on our civilian factories. Anywho. Supplies are low. We should build a few supply hubs too. Let's build one. And I'm going to build one in Kentucky. Alright. We should be good to go. Ooh. Oh boy. Economics. Alright. Okay. Trade. We have no chromium. We're running out of rubber, so I'll import some from Thailand. Import chromium from South Africa. A few free dockyards, so I'll utilize them. By going full speed ahead on the subs. Missing equipment. Actually, we have missing equipment production. Let's do that. Strategic bombers. Wow, we don't really have much. Let's take a look at our research. See what we can do. Code. B1 Lancer. Okay, that's a strat at bomb. Alright. We'll order production of that. Multi-role airframe. Attack helicopter. Unmanned. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's get some attack. Produce that. We'll stockpile some guns. Okay. Should be good to go. We have one more free military factory. Okay. Alright, let's let some time pass. Oh. The American century. America, for the past 100 years, has been considered the world's premier power. The best economy the world has ever seen, a huge, diverse landmass with a multitude of resources and people, and has become the world's premier democratic nation. The last 100 years have provided the United States free range to spread its ideas, for enemies collapsing at her might. However, the demons of America's past have come to haunt her, ringing through her head ever louder as the days draw on. Many voices cry for reparations for Black Americans, who were once in chains throughout the Deep South, with liberation coming to them through the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 during the American Civil War. And later, in 1865, the 13th Amendment was ratified abolishing slavery. However, not all was right, for they were theoretically free, but the settlers kept them as slaves, in all but name. This was finally ended with the Civil Rights Act in 1964. However, the effects of slavery are still felt. Racial tensions have declined dramatically for the past few decades, leading to constant bouts of whether or not America is founding the suffering of others or the liberty of the individual. Across the world, across Earth, across the cradle of humanity, a new decade has arisen. New Year's fireworks are still going off across the globe, and many are still creating their New Year's resolutions. In fact, the United States of America is not doing anything much different. With every decade, it's a tradition for our nation to overview the situations we face, whether it be economically, globally, or politically. Economically, the nation has enjoyed relative stability over the past few years. Inflation and prices have been kept at a manageable level, and development has continued as expected across the country. However, much of this economic stability hinges on one crucial factor: oil. The growing dependence on what has become the new gold of the world is vital to maintaining our nation's balance. Should our primary supplier cut off its supply, the United States could very quickly find itself in a severe crisis. On the international front, the U.S. has faced a similar climate of tension in recent years. Disputes and incidents do arise, but they are generally handled through diplomatic channels or strategic interventions, ensuring that these issues remain contained and do not spiral out of control. Despite these challenges, the United States' sphere of influence remains largely stable. However, constant overwatch is needed in order to maintain our reach. Of the three main sets of problems the USA faces every decade, it is now the political system of grandeur that inhibits the machinations of the nation. That is our biggest issue. With the presidential race in full swing and election night rapidly approaching, political tension across the country has reached an unnerving level. Political anger is on the rise, and the polarization among citizens has become extremely powerful. But where once simple differences in opinion have now led some individuals to adopt extreme stances, with many even arming themselves over political disagreements. While the challenges the United States faces in this new decade may appear straightforward at first glance, it is ultimately the outcome to the upcoming election that decide the course of the nation. The stakes have never been higher. Decisions made on election night shape the future of the land of the free for years to come. Cheers to a new decade and a new era for America. Whether it'll be bright or dim. Second Amendment rally in Richmond. As the Virginia State Senate votes on new fire regulations, thousands of citizens from across Virginia and from neighboring states amassed at the Richmond Town Hall in support for the Second Amendment. Regardless of the choice, we will see the same effects. Let's just hope nobody's gunned down. That would be bad. The State of the Union. The State of the Union this year was an interesting. As usual, President Trump positively taunted his achievements since the last State of the Union speech and invited many people who he considered to have been affected positively by his policies. Most notably, Juan Villada, the interim president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The president also attempted calm fears towards the rising COVID-19 outbreaks in China by announcing talks with Xi Jinping about containing virus. Towards the end of the speech, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tore up the speech right behind it, which saw the ire of the Republicans and received lukewarm reception from Democrats. However, the speech was mostly received well and shows our people that America is on the up. Of course, more lies from Trump. Still have poverty. Alright, let's side against Trump. Let's engage the media. Protest the government. Oh shit. The World Health Organization, in collaboration with the Communist Party of China, has been closely monitoring the alarming outbreak of a novel virus in the city of Wuhan. The sudden emergence of this virus has raised significant concerns among health experts and global leaders alike, particularly the return of thousands of Chinese citizens with mutations which could potentially facilitate the virus's spread to foreign populations. As the situation is escalating, experts have noted that the virus appears to be becoming deadly, exhibiting an increasing mortality rate that has alarmed public health officials worldwide. Reports indicate that the virus is not only highly transmissible, but also shows signs of mutations that may enhance its virulence. This concerning threat has led to intensified scrutiny Research efforts aimed at understanding the virus's behavior and its potential impact on global health. Yesterday, fears that many had harbored were all but confirmed. The World Health Organization officially declared that the pandemic was no longer a matter of if, but when. This declaration marks a critical turning point in the global response to the outbreak, prompting nations around the world to take urgent action to mitigate the impending crisis. Countries are already counting the number of infected citizens, with healthcare systems bracing for an influx of patients as cases continue to rise. This is unprecedented times. Well, I've got a report. Dear Mr. President, it has come to our attention that after the major Second Amendment ritual, multiple far-right militias have sprung up in the wake of nationwide protests. We have uncovered multiple smaller organizations that have been conducting training in the Appalachian Mountains. One of these militias may pose a threat to national security in the future. Observation must. Respectfully yours, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Chris. Today, the CDC has received reports from suburban Seattle Hospital of concerning news. America has its first confirmed case of the novel coronavirus, also known as the Wuhan coronavirus or COVID-19. Patient, a 35-year-old American national who visited Wuhan last week, said he never recalled interacting with any visibly sick people while there or during the flight back, and his symptoms did not emerge until several days after returning to the United States. The patient and his family have already been placed under quarantine, and efforts are being made to track down those he came in contact with since returning to the U.S. Since the coronavirus seems to be contagious without displaying symptoms, medical experts are worried that dozens of people may have been exposed without knowing it. Ooh, that's not good. Ooh. Looks like, we have a peace deal. For months, we have been closely following the negotiations between the Taliban and the Afghan government to reach a peace agreement. Far troop numbers decreasing and public support dwindling after nearly 2 decades of war. We are relieved to announce that the US-Taliban deal has just been signed in Doha, finally ending our 20-year-long involvement in the region. Peace at last. Oh shit. The Dow Jones Industrial Average suffered its worst single-day point drop ever, smashing through records set earlier this month as the instability in the Saudi government rattled investors who have already been panicked over the coronavirus epidemic. Blue chip index neared bear territory amid mounting fears about a global recession, plunging a record-breaking 2,013.76 points, or 7.8%. Closing at 23,851.02. The Nasdaq dropped 7.3% to 7,950.68. The S&P 500 lost 7.6% to close at 2,746.56. Its worst day since December 2008. After diving in 7% in the opening moments of the trading session, triggering a New York Stock Exchange circuit breaker that halted trading for 15 minutes, Monday marked the first time a trading took effect since the current thresholds were implemented in 2013 to avoid a repeat of 1987's Black Monday crash. The price of oil shot up to $117.14 in US currency per barrel as disruptions across Saudi Arabia halted production. As Saudi oil fields churned to a halt, and other countries struggled to keep up production amid shutdowns and worker shortages, it seems that a recessionary period is all but certain. Oh dear. As if the economic situation in America could not get any worse, the collapse of Saudi Arabia created an oil panic that has placed the last nail in the coffin of our anemic economy. While Saudi Arabia oil only constituted around 21% of our total imported oil in 2019, our other main resources have cut production due to the COVID pandemic. A few, namely Russia and Mexico, have reacted to the Saudi civil war by raising prices exponentially. Domestic oil production is not at the current level necessary to offset nearly 40% of domestic oil consumption provided by imports. That shit is not good. Starting? Okay. Well, starting as a group online consisting of racist teenagers and commentators and spreading to a much darker, grimmer, and more militant group, the Atomwaffen division has grown greatly from the past 6 years. Starting out as 13 close friends shooting guns in their backyards, the group has exponentially expanded to hundreds of members and thousands of sympathizers due to the lack of recent racial tensions, according to the FBI. Much of the Atomwaffen's growth can be credited to one James Mason, a neo-Nazi accelerationist famous for his underground hit book, Siege. After taking control of the group in 2017, he initiated a massive purge of what he calls glowies. Since then, Atomwaffen has been operating, including out in the open and spreading its violent and hateful rhetoric across the country. Yesterday, Atomwaffen announced on its website that they will be disbanding effective immediately. Little explanation given. Many anti-fascist figures celebrate it by saying that this is a major victory, while many are skeptical, claiming that Atomwaffen satellite groups are simply moving further underground, but they still present a threat. Trump will say this means there's no more Nazis in America. Well, to the surprise of many, the recent worldwide turmoil has led to the status quo being broken in Libya, and the war-torn country has finally come to peace. The new authority has announced the creation of a national congress to elect a new government. The people of Libya finally got a breath of fresh air as dozens of politicians are forming their platforms, propagandizing their programs, and announcing their ambitions in every part of the country. For the first time in almost a decade, Libya is illuminated not only by the merciless desert sun, but also by the rays of hope. But the question is, will they ever recover? Alright, it's the middle of March. Oh, shit! The Dow crashes 2,000 points. Populists are gaining ground. And unemployment skyrocketed to 20%. For the first time since the Great Depression. Looks like Trump isn't as successful as he thought he was. This can only mean one thing. We're gonna see an uptick in fascism. Uh-oh. It looks like, the Wagner Group has taken over Central African Republic. We'll, have to see how things go. But let's focus on what's going on in the States. And from riches to crime. He stared, heart sunken, jaw dropped, at the sight of the red number before him. The Dow Jones was down. It was down, the worst it had ever been in history. Down from 30,000 points on Friday to 15,000 today on Monday. It dropped by half. In the first 4 days of the Great Depression, it dropped by 25%, 1/4. At this day in history, it took 2 days for it to drop by 50%. He was now potentially tens of millions in debt from a weekend. Badwater Trust's company was now nothing. His life's work, gone in a weekend. From poor boy in New Haven, like living incarnate. Back to nothingness again. He walked from his $88 million mansion overlooking the Hudson in his impeccably tailored suit and drove his Lambo down the Henry Hudson Parkway to his towering office building smack dab in the center of Lower Manhattan. He didn't even bother to park properly, just walking in. Every employee he passed stared at amazement in actually seeing him. Boss. Each and every one of them would be out of a job within the week. From the lowest janitor, all the way to the vice chairman of the board himself. He got into the elevator and used a special key card to allow himself to go to the roof level, where the ride up was the longest of his life. It wouldn't be long before he was on the roof now, overlooking the broad scheme of skyscrapers across him. The distant sea far into the background. The weather today was fittingly overcast and dreary. He stepped into the edge of the rooftop, looked at the far-flung ground. He said a prayer to God for the first time in several decades, hoping he'd get past the pearly gates for his mortal sin of seemingly infinite greed. He gathered his nerves, adjusted his time, and then he took a leap into the icy blast. And GDP is shrinking. Poverty rates are skyrocketing. It's only been a few weeks since the start of the oil crisis, yet the economic situation of the US of A looks increasingly bleak. Massive oil shortages, have caused massive queues at every gas station imaginable. And more businesses are going out of market day by day due to decreased business confidence and lower incomes. With economists predicting that the United States might be heading into a depression similar to that of the oil crisis during the 70s. Mass sell-off of assets combined with the demand for gold skyrocketing to unprecedented highs reflect the fear that is struck at the heart of every American household. Reports show that due to unemployment, decreased household incomes, and inflation, the poverty rate in the United States is set to increase to 22%. Numbers unseen since 1959. Political reaction has been quite extreme, as presidential candidate Joe Biden has denounced Trump once more for his unsustainable energy policies and over-reliance on oil. President Trump has blamed the Democrats for their opposition to supply-side policies such as fracking, destroying the domestic energy industry. On the extremes, the Patriot Front has been thrust into the limelight once more as they drew massive crowds in a controversial march in Boston. Clad in blue jackets, khakis, sunglasses, and tan hats, their provocative banners blaming globalism caused many disgruntled Republicans to join their ranks. Meanwhile, far-left organizations such as the Party for Socialism and Liberation have organized demonstrations echoing populist sentiment expressed in the Occupy Wall Street protests, blaming the greed of the capitalist system and economy. Despite decades of entrenched anti-communist sentiment in the United States, it seems that their membership numbers are skyrocketing as well. As extremism and poverty gripping the U.S., many fear that the worst is yet to come. It's only begun. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse. With the COVID-19 pandemic in full swing, workers in the Freeport Complex chemical plant have gone on strike to protest wage stagnation amid high inflation and unsafe working conditions. Following the decision to include the chemical plant's workers in the definition of necessary workers, as many as 9 workers have already perished from COVID-related health problems, prompting the strike. Security personnel from Dow Chemical Co. attempted to remove the strikers from their premises. To little success following a 2-hour standoff, the armed strikers, private security forces. The strike has received nationwide attention due to the chemical plant being one of the largest production facilities in the Western Hemisphere, producing ethylene, propylene, polyethylene, propylene oxide. Following a failed negotiation 14 hours after the initial standoff, the local union representative highlighted the tensions by publicly supporting and sharing rhetoric from the Center for Political Innovation, the far-left radical organization associated with the American Jacobin movement. This escalation has allowed the Trump administration to label the group as communist radicals and threaten the use of force to break the strike, meaning that stability is going to drop. Following 4 days of failed negotiations, sit-in strike at the Freeport Complex chemical plant has been broken by security forces of Dow Chemical have been broken as security forces of Dow Chemical Co. have dispersed the strike by force. The company, Dow Chemical, has announced that all workers who had participated in the strike were to be laid off for breaking company policy, as well as the hiring of over 300 new engineers and technicians to replace those who had been fired. At the end of the strike, public opinion is painfully split. The left blames the Democrats' inaction to prevent government-sponsored crackdown, and anger directed at the company for the violation of workers' rights. Meanwhile, the right has praised Trump for his fight against communism and denounced the strike as anti-worker due to its allegiances to the CPI. Regardless, many worry that the new workers are not up to par with the old ones and will cause significant risks to production. Once again, surprising news is coming from Libya. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of Muammar Gaddafi, has managed to consolidate popular support and win the post-Civil War national elections with an overwhelming majority. He successfully utilized the Libyan people's dissatisfaction with the agenda of other candidates and appealed to the restoration of national pride and sovereignty before anything else. Now, with the Gaddafists back in power, Libya is sure to kick out foreign mercenaries that have been investing Libyan land since the beginning of the civil war. As the revanchist spirit strengthens by the hour in Libya, Gaddafi has announced plans to create a united socialist Arab state in the Maghreb. It looks like that Gaddafi is doing its thing. You see a united Arab Socialist Republic? Or a second Libyan civil war? In a surprising twist, the GOP's decisive rejected a compromise budget bill. This bill, which was formed after intense bipartisan negotiations and heralded as a potential fiscal breakthrough, contains contentious aimed at tackling the entrenched economic issues. It appears that these controversial measures were the stumbling block that led to the bill's downfall. Tensions mounting and deadlines drawing near, our party is now in a frantic race to regain ground and salvage the situation. Stuff is going to hell. Let's fuel the machine. Oh shit. Yesterday evening, a 24-year-old black man, Quentin Evans, died in police custody in Richmond, Virginia. Evans was walking around the street where he was spotted by a police cruiser who believed he had matched a profile of a wanted burglar. Although an identity check confirmed that he was not the burglar, he had a warrant for failing to appear in court for a drug possession charge. He was detained by Sergeant James Harmon, put into cruiser, where he suffered a brain hemorrhage and died en route to the police station. Cell phone footage from bystanders, however, reveals a different thing. While performing the arrest, Harmon forcefully pushed Evans' head and body against a brick wall, enough to nearly knock Evans unconscious. He was shoved against a wall again for saying he was in pain, and his cry, "You're killing me," was met with a laughing dismissal by Harmon. The footage was posted on social media the next morning, resulting in outrage for the black community and local activists. Spontaneous protests have formed at the site of Evans' arrest, as well as outside Richmond PD precincts in the City Hall. The cat's out of the bag. Big shit is about to hit the fan. Big time. Ooh. shit. Federal police have been deployed to Richmond, and there's protests in Oregon. Movement is sweeping across the country. Shit is hitting the fan big time. Uh-oh. In today's communique, the government of Saudi Arabia has announced the unfortunate and unexpected demise of the country's ruler. King Salman al-Saud has been the king since 2015. Although it avoided stating the exact reason behind his death, many rumors claim that the king has been sick with COVID-19 for months. Hence, he hasn't appeared in public view for a single time this entire year. This comes as just one tragedy in a spree that hit the kingdom along with the global COVID pandemic and the oil crash. While Mohammed bin Salman al-Saud was quickly sworn in as the successor, being the legitimate heir after all, the level of political suspicion divided seems to be so great that many can't help but see a trail of conspiracy in this rapid development. Meanwhile, the country is still getting torn to pieces by protest as a consequence of an economic and subsequent societal collapse, with radical Islamic and Republican sentiments reportedly on the rise. The kingdom has been on the verge of a fatal crisis for a while now, and the king's sudden death might be the test that it won't surpass. And with that, I think we will leave things for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, as it helps the channel out, and that's going to be it for today. So, goodbye!